It'll be posted there as well as all the materials. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. We're so excited to be having this public hearing as well as all the materials. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. We're so excited to be having this public hearing as well as all the materials. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. We're so excited to be having this public hearing as well as all the materials. I want to thank Benson High School for allowing us to be here today. Beautiful auditorium. We're so excited to be having this public hearing. I want to thank Benson High School for allowing us to be here today. Beautiful auditorium. Before we start, just a couple reminders. In order to ensure safety, we ask that everyone please find a seat and keep the walkways clear. Be considerate to those around you. We would like to remind everyone, let's be respectful to each other. We also ask that if you brought a sign, that those stay on you and try to keep it below chin level in case there's someone behind you who would like to see as well. Also, please do not post any banners or things on the walls or anywhere. They must stay on you. We also have childcare available this evening. It's in the library. If you don't know where that is, there's a bunch of wonderful people right outside who can probably point you in the right direction. All right, let's get started. Today, the board is now convened as the Budget Committee. The purpose of the hearing tonight is to receive public comment on the proposed budget and to hear thoughts and feedback from the community. We want to hear from everyone who has signed up tonight, so we have quite a few. So we are going to be keeping our comments, we're going to be having our comments 2 minutes. When you're giving your comment, there will be a tone. When you hear that tone, that means your 2 minutes is up. Please finish your sentence. Where was I? At the conclusion of our public comment, this is to board members, we will have time to follow up with questions with the superintendent or comments, and staff will also be taking notes to help answer those questions as well. If we do not have time to answer the questions tonight, staff will be taking those notes and will post those answers to those questions on our website or replying to us directly. All right, before we move to public comment, I asked to have a brief overview of the proposed budget from our superintendent, so I'll hand this over to Superintendent Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair Wang, and I will turn it over to our Chief Financial Officer, Michelle Morrison, that will intro the relevant information. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Wang and Superintendent Armstrong. I'm very excited to be here with you again talking about budget. It's been quite a big season. We have started early. We didn't really stop looking at this year's budget from the time next year's budget from the time we adopted this year's budget. So a whole lot of engagement has occurred, and you've been a huge part of that. So I've been asked to give a super brief overview, so I would encourage anybody who needs more information to please visit our website. Am I on? Roseanne. Every time. All right, so let's get started. This slide is a very familiar one. It talks about the rising costs that we're experiencing over time as we have invested in employee compensation, benefits, teacher planning time, and pension. We do have limited revenue in our forecasts. We have less special revenue and no reserve funds to draw from beyond the 5% minimum fund balance in the current budget. So we have exhausted those funds. We are experiencing declining enrollment. School districts in Oregon are funded in their general fund on a per student basis with the state school fund, and due to our decline, it's definitely impacting our outlook. Okay, we skipped over the enrollment chart, which is probably okay. It was a comparison of PPS to the state average in terms of decline. Thank you. The percentage points are an indicator from the 2019-20 year, so that's not a year-over-year reduction. That's a cumulative reduction since 1920. You can see that the district is outpacing the state in terms of enrollment decline. This is a quick graph, bar graph, that describes the adopted budget for 25-26, our current year, compared to our proposed budget for 26-27. The aqua box there is our general fund and special revenue fund. That's the majority of the resources that support our schools and programs. You can see our general fund is experiencing a decline for the first time. For our debt service fund, that's specifically for paying back principal and interest on debt that we've issued to fund capital projects. Our capital projects fund is increasing in a big way as we look into beginning our modernization, seismic, and other improvements. This is a high-level chart that we have shared multiple times over the course of the winter and spring, as we described in our community engagements, the categories of building supports, central office, schools, specialized programs, and the reductions in each of those areas. It's important to note that the adopted budget column represents the plan that we adopted at this time last year for the current year. The preliminary current service level column represents the cost of doing what we're doing today in the next year. If there were no changes, you can see there's a significant increase there. And the gap closing reductions totaling just over $56 million. This is another comparison table to describe central office reductions against other areas, schools, specialized programs, building supports. One note here on specialized programs, a large portion of those reductions were from the general fund, and those services will continue, although they will be funded by the student investment account. This is our long-term forecast. We shared a similar slide last year that kind of foretold what we would be experiencing as we plan for 26-27. You can see that we are expecting another impact in the 27-28 school year, and that is due mainly to our PERS rates, our employer rates, increasing dramatically as our side accounts for our pension obligation bonds are expiring. This is the timeline for, you can see where we've made progress. There's actually a whole bunch of dates leading up to proposal of the budget, and then yesterday's CBRC report to the board, which was really great, I thought. And then now we are at the public comment session. The next things will happen as they are listed. And that is my abbreviated presentation. I think you guys are familiar with that information, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Right now, we'll move to public comment. All right, before we begin public comment, I just want to review some guidelines. This mic is not my friend today. First, the board thanks you for taking your time to attend this meeting, time of your day, to provide your comments about the budget. If you would like to submit your comments to us in writing, you may do so, and you can send them to publiccomment@pps.net. When you begin your public comment, please clearly state your name, spell your last name, and also, if you can, please indicate the school community that you come from. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. You'll hear sound indicating when your 2 minutes are done, and we ask that you please wrap up your sentence at that time. All right, let's get started. Let's have Ms. Powell, could you call up the people signed up for public comment? And I would actually like to start with, we have quite a few students signed up for public comment today. I would like to today start with students first, in case they want to get home and get ready for the school day tomorrow. So let's start with our students first.
Great. I'm going to call up a few at a time, 3 people at a time, and public comment is up at the microphone. We'll start with Ellie Buckner, Nadia Knight, and Lily LaRose. Lolita Jack, Nayli Galinda Lopez, Sade Mesa Arias.
Hello? Hello? Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Sadai. How to spell my name is Sadaymesaarias. Sadai Mesa Arias. I'm a student that goes to Franklin High School. I just want to give thanks to the Race Equality Social Justice Involvement Program. A little bit about my story is I am Afro-Latina. I am Cuban. My families are from Cuba, and I feel like you guys are cutting these really important programs, and as a student of color and a first generation student, I feel like it's really important that we need these programs to make our community feel more welcome, especially brown students and black students. For example, Franklin High School is very predominantly white, and having these programs like, for example, Step Up, REAP, I Am Academy, a Latino network, Young Escalera and stuff, we need these programs to feel welcome and to feel like we have a safe space for all of our students of every background. And thank you for your time, for the RESJ partnership. Hopefully y'all will keep funding us. Thank you, and I hope you guys have an amazing night.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nayeli Galindo Lopez. I'm a student at Franklin in a program funded by Racial Equity and Social Justice Initiative. In my program, Early Escalera, I have been given, along with other Latino students, a space to come and talk and form relationships with other students to relate to, as well as given a space where we can collaborate and learn together. Early Escalera has given us opportunities to see our Latino community and Western Oregon University's Leadership Conference, but also at this year's Portland Cinco de Mayo Festival. Losing this program would not only mean less resources for Latino students, but also take away one of few spaces where we can learn and connect with our culture. We thank you for your support of the RESJ partnerships and strongly urge you to continue fully funding RESJ in the years to come. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we have Xander Bedell, Sebastian Faria, and Wolfie Sparbel.
Hello. My name is Xander Beadle, Bedel, and I go to Access Academy. Access provides a place for kids to learn because they don't fit in at any other schools. It is a school for highly gifted kids, which means that the kids who go there have different ways of learning than other kids. And Access provides them that learning in an appropriate school environment. At Access, kids learn several grades above where they are. I'm in 7th grade, and I'm taking Spanish and algebra for high school credit, and English language arts, social studies, and science at an 8th grade level. I can't go to my neighborhood school because they don't offer high school courses. Access was created for that purpose, to teach kids who learn like me. In order to attend, we need to be able to get there. Access is not a small community. Students come from all over neighborhoods of Portland. I live in the far northwest, but I have met lots of kids from all over the city. I take the bus 45 minutes to school and have 2 working parents who can't get me to school or pick me up. If parents can't take time to get their kid to school, without a bus, they can't get the learning they need. This would impact lower income families the most. I know you are trying to cut budgets, but if you take our buses, you are creating a school where only privileged kids can attend, despite it being a needs-based school. Based on a recent PTA survey, over 75% of kids take the bus to school, and 100% need this type of accelerated learning. With so few kids able to go without buses, then so many kids couldn't have their needs, not their wants, their needs met. In conclusion, cutting all transportation to Access prevents most kids from attending such a vital school for their academic needs. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
They never told me that I was gonna have a speech, so I don't have anything written down. This isn't like a what's it called? Oh right, this isn't like a private school. It's not like we get like high class lunches or anything. Most other advanced schools don't get buses except this school. Well, kids are like constantly blurting. They basically would get in trouble 95% of the days that they go to regular school for bad behavior. I wish it had the quotes and subtitles. So, for the kids who do get to go to the school, well, one thing, you should have brought a whiteboard or like some kind of sign.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Sebastian Ferreira. I'm a sophomore from McDaniel High School. And a little things about me is that I like to cook, I love to bake. I'm in a lot of programs at our school that really makes me a better person. And the main issue I'm here for is I'm a part of Early Escalera, a program that branches from Latino Network that helps educate young people and allow us to connect with our ancestral past. This program has helped many people, including myself, find ourselves. It has helped me overcome some of my worst fears, like social anxiety, which is the main reason why I'm here. I'm trying to overcome that. And it's really thanks to our awesome advocate, Ami Alvarado. She's such an amazing person. She's made me, she's helped me become a better person over a long period of time. I met her in 8th grade from some friends. And ever since then, I've just been trying to do my best in life. And my main reason to be here is to ask that you guys can continue to fund our programs and sorry about this. To help continue fully funding and expanding our amazing program and many other Latino network providers through RESJ, I hope to see many new faces wanting to join Early Escalera and realize that if they're going through anything, that they will always have someone to talk to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah Escobar, Peter Ruff, Sebastian, you're two places, sorry. Sarah Bernal.
I'm too short, sorry. My name is Sara Bernal. And, wait, sorry, I'm a little confused about my words. My name is Sara Bernal. I'm a student at McDaniel High School. I'm currently a sophomore this year, and I love ceramics. I love all kinds of art. I'm Latina, originally from Colombia and Venezuela, and arrived to Oregon 3 years ago with my family, and in hope of a better life. This transition was so difficult in my life because, being an immigrant and being in the United States with language barriers and all the different cultures is so difficult. But one thing that helped me was Latino Network, the programs, and also I'm speaking with you guys because it's a program that helped me a lot with English and with my skills. And I know my English is not perfect, but I guess it's nice to talk about the program. And yeah, when I started with Latino Network, it was in NGC, Night Week Counts. And they helped me to understand about high school and all the things like I needed to know about graduation because I want to go to college. And also Latino Network was one of the main programs that helped me to survive, obviously, because yeah, I'm just a little bit like confused about my my life and all the things because being an immigrant is so crazy. And then the first when I started freshman year. I also started with Early Escalera, another program from Latino Network at Parkhurst High School. But I moved to McDaniel High School, and it was another hard transition because, it was so hard. And also, I was able to join Early Escalera again. This program helped me to improve my English skills, learn more about my culture, appreciation of other cultures, and more. And also, this program is so helpful for many students and families like me. And also, I wanted to ask to please continue funding and plan to spend RESJ programs like the ones Latino Network provides in the years to come. Thank you. Gracias.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Peter Ruff. I'm a student at Benson High School. I didn't come here with a script or anything because this is something I wanted to just speak openly about. Me and a lot of the lower classmen at Benson are concerned about the future of the CTE programs at our school. Basically, there have been rumors flying around this entire year about stuff like computer science or manufacturing being possibly cut within the next few years. And a lot of people are concerned that these very unique opportunities that most high schoolers, not just in this district, but throughout most of the country, will never be able to experience this early in life, I guess. I highly urge you to keep funding CTE as much as you can. With funding already with spending already paused, the consumables are getting strained. Currently in Health we don't have a lot of the materials that would usually be there for stuff like skill checks. There's also I'm not in any I'm in the freshman rotation right now, but according to some of the sophomores and juniors I talked to, there are restraints in stuff like medical supplies as well. And I would just highly urge you to keep funding these opportunities as much as you can for the future, not just for Benson, but through the other CTE programs just throughout the district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Should I call the students I called at the first? Should I call them again?
Yeah, if there's any students that didn't come up in the first call.
Ellie Buckner, Nadia Knight, Lily LaRose, Lolita Jack. Okay, come on.
I guess we can just keep calling until we have 3 students
Great.
up.
We'll move on to non-students. Ellie Larson. Beyond You. Oh, there's Ellie. Maya Page.
Hi, my name's Ellie Larson. I'm a parent from Access Academy. That was my student who was saying it was not a private school with fancy lunches. My child's special ed and highly gifted. Access Academy serves a lot of needs of a lot of students. And I do see it as a need. We were not working at the neighborhood school. We're from Glencoe, and we had excellent special ed, excellent help, all the supports, all the accommodations, but my kid could just not function there. Panic attacks, couldn't get through the day, report cards blank, not at grade level. Access Academy has been essential, life-changing. This is a kid who's thriving and happy and likes themselves. And when we came in, we were a single-parent, low-income household. I couldn't have done it without the bus. Please consider reducing the routes or anything you can do to keep the buses so this is equitable for people like us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jaleel Shamsud Din, come on up.
I'm waiting for you to finish my name.
Shamsud Din.
I want to see you sweat. Shamsuddin, you were close. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jaleel Shamsuddin. I'm the compliance manager at Self Enhancement Incorporated. I'm here to speak about how the board's current budget proposal impacts not only SEI, but its community partners. Specifically, the budget proposal reduces funding by $2.2 million for the racial equity and social justice funding allocation. The restoration of this funding gap is necessary for SEI and its community partners to continue delivering essential services in support of our students and PPS. RESJ partnerships serve students before academic struggles become disciplinary issues, resulting in absenteeism or disengagement. RESJ partnerships extend PPS's capacity into communities, homes, and cultural spaces where schools alone cannot reach. And these partnerships further effectuate the need for equity within, well, further meet the equity need within PPS. Additionally, our RESJ partners provide culturally responsive, trusted support to students who are Black, Native, immigrant, multilingual, and system impacted, those among the most vulnerable and therefore the most impacted by the budget cuts. Although PPS purports to recognize the great need to eliminate the disparities in our schools, a reduction in funding undermines that goal, making the budget shortfall for our services just as pernicious as the disparities PPS has committed itself to eliminate. For example, PPS is growing the student population at Jefferson in conjunction with the modernization of the school building. However, a budget reduction shrinks student-facing services at Jefferson while the student body and its needs only increase. This contradiction is an impediment to the success of our students, specifically students of color. Additionally, the funding reduction increases pressure on schools that are already losing counselors, interventionists, and equity staff. I urge you to restore RESJ funding in full, which is only 0.25% of the general fund, and doing so is a modest rebalancing. RESJ community-based partners are essential to PPS's equity strategy, not supplemental or optional. When equity supports are removed, the harms show up in a poor attendance gaps, and behavioral crises. These are all stated concerns of the board and are all more expensive to address than simply restoring the funding for RESJ. We must proactively fund programming that both prevents and addresses these concerns now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Rachel Weisar, Seth Miller, Lisa Jackson.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Weishaar. That's Weissaar. I'm here because I have 3 amazing kids, including a 3rd grader who takes the bus to Access Academy every day. And she's become a new kid since she started there. She fits in, she has a peer group, and she is learning at a pace that fits her. And as a full-time working parent of 3, the Access bus is an absolute lifesaver. For Access families, buses aren't just a convenience, they're the only way we can get our kids to school and from school every day. And I worry that if buses to Access are completely eliminated, which is what's been proposed, that the kids whose families can't have a parent drive them to and from school every day, or the kids whose parents can't afford childcare so that they can get their other kids to school, those are the families who won't be able to get to Access anymore. The elimination of the Access buses is going to require a lot of students to return to their neighborhood schools because they won't be able to get to Access. And there's a lot of, I think probably fair to say most students at Access are working at least 1, sometimes 2 or 3 grade levels ahead. And a lot of parents have been calling their neighborhood schools to ask what it's going to be like if their kid can't go to Access anymore because there is no bus, what those neighborhood schools are going to be able to offer. And the responses folks have been getting is mostly that it's not going to, they're not sure yet what kids who are like 2 or 3 grade levels ahead are going to do when they're outpacing the middle school math. Like, what are they going to do? Send them to a high school, several times a day to accelerate those classes? Anyways, it doesn't seem like there's necessarily been a lot of planning as to what might happen. So in sum, I would urge you not to cut the buses to Access and to do anything else you can do to preserve the ability of all families to get to that school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Zara Faruqi, Lisa Jackson.
Good evening. My name is Zara Faruqi. That's Faruqi. I am a junior at Benson Polytechnic High School, as well as the vice chair of the district student council. I stand here not only as vice chair, but as one of the co-editors-in-chief of the Benson Orbit. I know the Benson Orbit isn't exactly a household name yet, as this is our first year back as a class after our 16-year lapse. But as our school's student-run newspaper, we stand as an important outlet for student voice. And especially in political climates like these, the preservation of that outlet is incredibly important. But just as importantly, it's a spot that shows the best pieces and sparks of our community. I leave every class empowered and inspired by the passions of so many of our students, by their desire to both seek the truth and speak to it. As these budget cuts have hit our district, we are afraid to lose the environment we have spent so much time and love fostering. We are afraid to lose this pillar of our community. Our class, as it stands, is quite small. However, our effect has rang large throughout our school. I've seen so many students united by the release of our first print issue and passionate about what we have worked so hard to bring back. I hope that through all these difficult decisions, this home we've made is preserved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hiana Washde. My name is Lisa Jackson, Spotted Elk, and before I speak for you, I just want to thank all you all for being here. I watched last night's meeting, and it was a bit much. But I just want to start with like the climate lady who is no longer has a job. I'm here for you. I want to mainly speak on, because hearing all the students speak on culture, we need to go back to our lands. Being a native of this land, we need to start somewhere. And we all have something in common, and that's our cultures. And we're not focused on that. But being we're here to talk about the budget, we really need to come together and understand, like I've told the City Council, advocating for climate funding and housing funding for our schools. We are all in this together. When I came out here from the bigger world, as in when I call this the bigger world, I came from a reservation in North Dakota where we're completely excluded. I brought my daughter out here, who is Lolita Jack, who unfortunately didn't want to come speak because of just more stuff that's going on. However, I am her parent and I will speak for her. I brought her out here to give her a better opportunity at culture and education, because we could learn other people's cultures and other people, you know, there's more offer for education. Well, I'm here to offer you guys support. I went and checked on some schools that are severely in survival mode because of the Southeast Guiding Coalition. I want to be real transparent when I speak on that, because I sat on that board and we push communities everywhere. Yes, change is good, change is needed, but when we're doing that change, we have to check on one another. We have to check on what we're doing. And we just don't need to have another cat. I've seen how you all really love this lady, that she's supporting climate. She's supporting what we need to focus on, because without focusing on our climate and our world and our culture, none of this means anything. Pidamia.
Thank you.
LQ Yang, Maria Zavala, Brenda Chavez Alguin.
Hello, my name is Maria Zavala, Z-A-V-A-L-A. I will be representing Da Vinci Arts Middle School, reading a message testimony from Margarita Wilson, the assistant principal. Dear board members, thank you for listening to our call for the importance of monetarily supporting our community partnerships. The partnership between our school community and our RESJ-funded program has proven to be essential in supporting student success, engagement, and safety. In particular, our RESJ programming has been an invaluable resource for the students and Latinx families of Da Vinci Arts Middle School. Our Latinx student population represents approximately 15% of our total enrollment. Nearly 50% of these students participate weekly in a RESJ program facilitated by Latino Network. Demand for this program has exceeded available capacity, requiring us to place students on a wait list, an indicator of both the program's effectiveness and the significant need for expanded access. Student perception data from the Success School Survey demonstrates a substantial increase in students reporting that they feel safe at Da Vinci Arts Middle School, rising from 53 to 72 favorably. Notably, Latinx students reported one of the highest favorable safety ratings among among students of racial groups. In addition, Latinx academic outcomes have shown measurable improvements over the past 3 years, including gains in MAPS reading performances within the average, high average, and highest average ranges of 3%. Attendance and engagement indicators further reflect the success of this partnership. Over the past 4 years, the rate of good and acceptable attendance amongst Latinx students increased from 89 to 92. School-wide measures of diversity inclusion have also improved significantly, with a favorable ratings on the Success School Survey increasing from 73 to 82 over the last 3 years. These outcomes underscore the role of the RESJ programs. We really hope that you take this information and continue to support these partnerships with RESJ. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brenda Chavez Holguin. I work at Franklin High School in a program funded by Racial Equity and Social Justice Initiative called Early Escalera. In my program, I'm given the opportunity to support students every day with their academic and career goals, as well as providing them with new experiences. We aim to dismantle the systemic barriers that are placed in our communities that serve as disadvantage for them to succeed in school and work. Students have found a safe space in my office and often come hang out to de-stress when things become hectic around them. They have found trust in me to tell me about things going on in their lives and in searching for advice on how to handle them. There's a possibility that I may be one of few trusted adults that they have that is accessible to them to really listen and make time for them. Just recently, we had an end-of-the-year field trip to a Portland Cinco de Mayo fiesta, and a student had expressed to me that it was their first time going to a fair, getting on carnival rides, and experience that with their culture at the center of it. Not only do they get to experience this, they get to be with their friends and their community and engage in a way where they don't feel limited of what they could do and couldn't do. These experiences of being with their community and not having to hide a part of themselves are very crucial to students' self-identity. We would like to express our gratitude and strongly encourage you to continue funding the RESJ partnerships, the program supported by this initiative, Sol, Conexiones, Early Escalera, Escalera, Colegio de Padres, and Juntos Aprendamos play a crucial role in supporting Latina students and families throughout PPS. Now is the moment to reaffirm your education and racial equity and social justice in the face of challenging national climate, and let us stand strong together in this partnership, and we ask you to continue fully funding the RESJ partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to pull in some virtual commenters. Jillian Muir.
Sorry, we can't hear you at the moment. If you don't mind pausing, we will, we need to check on that really quick. Is it working?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Thank you for waiting. You may start, we'll reset your time.
Sure. Good evening. My name is
Yes, now
Jillian
we can
Murr,
hear you.
M-U-R-R.
Thank you for waiting.
I'm a
You
native.
may-
Work directly with Native students and families in Portland Public Schools. I'm coming to you tonight as a parent. My daughter's in the Indian Education Program, is a fourth grader at Atkinson. Coming to you tonight. I want to speak specifically about accountability to Native students and families in this proposed budget. Throughout these budget materials, the district has repeatedly referenced equity, inclusion, investments, community engagement, and protecting vulnerable students. And the district also highlights millions of dollars allocated towards curriculum, technology, facilities, and long-term capital investments. But Native students are nearly invisible in these documents. Last year, Superintendent Armstrong publicly committed approximately $1.1 million toward Native curriculum and Native student development connected to future district planning and bond-supported investments. Native families and community members showed up, participated in meetings, and trusted those commitments. One commitment, the hiring of a tribal liaison, did move forward, but the Native community members were also told they would help shape that role and what it would become, but many no longer feel that shared decision-making process was honored. Now, as the district discusses equity-centered planning and future-focused investments, there is no clearly visible commitment to Native curriculum, Native educational programming, or Native student success in this budget narrative. If equity truly guides decision-making, then Native students cannot disappear when priorities become financial. Native students deserve to see themselves reflected not only in acknowledgements and engagement sessions, but in actual investments, curriculum, programming, and long-term district priorities. So tonight, I'm asking the board directly, where are the commitments made to Native students reflected in this budget? Thank you. Katiyaya.
Thank you.
Joshua Shalek.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. My name is Josh Shalek, Shalek. I'm talking on behalf of my daughter, Lila.
Hello.
I received the news of a potential end to access transportation with great alarm. My daughter, Lila, who's in 3rd grade, is currently in her 1st year at Access. My wife and I are grateful that PPS provides this opportunity for her and for kids like her within the public education system. The canceling of all bus service to the school would be an unsustainable burden on our family. When my family made the decision to send Lila to Access this year, it was based on the current levels of support from the district. Specifically, in this case, the fact that transportation was provided. Now, potentially taking that away a short year later strikes me as more than simply unfair. It is a total change in who the district is allowing access to access. It is a form of gatekeeping. Cutting transportation effectively creates a system in which the privileged few are allowed to the opportunity of access, while the rest of us are shut out. Our daughter has just become acclimated to her new school, and the district is telling us she will have another massive upheaval in her educational life. School transportation is not a luxury, it is a necessity. I do understand the magnitude of this awful deficit. It's going to affect us all. We already know there will be staffing cuts at Access. I've written emails to my state senator and representative, not for the first time, on this issue. I hope you can understand that this particular cut is not a matter of making do with less. It is a wholesale disruption of our daughter's education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy Connor, Seth Kaufman, Leming Wang.
Hello, my name is Tracy Connor, Connor, and I am here to speak about Access Academy and the access to Access being maintained through buses. I'm gonna go ahead and have a Christy Split moment and be a little bit radically candid. I see the optics of a bunch of blonde-haired, red-haired, middle-class, relatively privileged, pale people coming up and speaking on behalf of Access. So I just want to let you know a little bit something and be kid-centered about my kid. My kid is a second-generation Mexican-American child. He is, I am a single parent to him, and we are income qualified. I left a relatively well-paying professional job when I realized that my 2nd grader was refusing to go to school. He was deeply unhappy, and he's a genius. And I always thought, geniuses love to go to school. I loved to go to school. That's where I got my external validation. That's where I got my A+. I loved to go to school. Here's my genius kid. He don't want to go to school. He's getting bad grades. What's going on? I quit my job. I started showing up as a full-time stay-at-home parent, self-funded by my retirement fund, and now full-time Lyft driving. And I will say what I learned by being in the school all the time during his 2nd grade was that, despite being brilliant, he had no executive skills.
In fact, it's very common for highly gifted children to be twice exceptional. And this is something I very much learned about my child. Well, I'm out of time, so I'm going to tell you. I fought and I fought, and I figured and I researched, and I got him to Access Academy. First thing I asked, because my kid is 504 qualified, he was on his way to an IEP, is I said, do I need to do this? And the teacher said, no, because here at Access, we're teaching all the kids that way. Common denominator. And he's been thriving.
Sorry, thank you. If you have more that you want to, if you don't have time, we can always
Yes,
email
and I will
the
just
rest of
say,
the comments to
please
us.
give grace to the people who are not prepared and also to the people who didn't show up, because we did not get response notice to our application to speak, so I did not know I was going to speak.
All right, thank you.
My name is Seth Kaufman. That's Kaufman. This is a Shishibo block. They're really cool. They're actually really cool. They're great fidgets. 2 years ago, Chief Joseph, my daughter was in 2nd grade. For math class, she'd be given a Shishibo block, and she and one of her classmates would be told to sit in the hallway while the teacher taught the rest of the class math. Now, Shishibo blocks are really cool. Shishibo blocks are not math instruction. We got lucky. Our kid got into Access. When I asked her, what do you think if you couldn't go to Access anymore? She said, and I quote, I don't want to change schools again. I'd probably have to sit in the hallway for half my classes again, which was really boring. That's the reality for most of the kids at Access. They were not getting an education in the classes, in the schools they were in. Chief Joseph was a wonderful school. She's still friends with kids there. This is not about the school, this is about the education. Denying transportation services to kids at Access means that most of the kids there will go back to neighborhood schools where they are not going to get an education. They're going to sit out in the hallways, Shishibo blocks for math class. They're going to have the same kind of thing in English. Transportation is critical for so many of these families. It's what enables them to be there. It's what enables those kids to get an education that is appropriate for them, for where they are, for what they're learning, for how they learn. This really matters to hundreds of kids and their families. The Access community is ready and willing to work with the school district to try and find some way to save money and preserve at the same time transportation, because it matters so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jennifer Mankey, Michael Raby, David Contreras Machado.
Hey, I'm Michael Raby, R-A-B-B-Y, person of height. I'll scrunch or hold it up. My son, Nolan, actually goes to Benson now. He's a 9th grader here. He started at Access in 1st grade. I don't know what we would have done without Access. We would not be in PPS. I mean, I'm going to try not to cry, so I'll try to talk numbers and practical. I know he would not have lasted in PPS. We had, he needed the things that Access gave. And I have an younger child, Bryce, who's in 7th grade at Access. We have 1 more year. So at most, I'll have 1 year of this like hellish situation where a half hour across the river, half hour back, and then a half hour to my job. There are not enough podcasts in the world to make that drive fun. And The state pays for most of what this is. It's the misery that you're going to inflict on so many people for something that is very much a need. And I can't stress that enough. It is a need. And to put these people back into regular schools where you're going to strain their resources, you're going to see a whole bunch of unintended consequences as a result of cutting the bus service. You're going to save $1 and you're going to spend $100. And there's a whole bunch of decisions that have happened in the recent past that have resulted in this. We've lost librarians. We've lost, I think we're getting a class or two cut too. I mean, everybody's getting classes cut, so it's not just us, right? We're getting shaved on that. But please don't make decisions based on a nickel that will cost $1 later on, just if I can, since we're in the budget. Anyway, thank you for listening. I appreciate y'all's time, and thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, Chair, board members, and Superintendent. My name is David Contreras Machado. That is CONTRERAS-MACHADO, and I'm here representing Latino Network. First, I want to thank the board for continuing to fund our programs through the RESJ initiative. That investment matters to our community, and we ask that you continue to increase those investments to fully fund the RESJ initiative to ensure core services like ours can be sustainable over a long period of time. Over the past years, we have seen just how important our programs are. At Latino Network, we provide school-based programs and services to support students and families through mentorship, leadership development, mental health and wellness support, family engagement, advocacy, early learning, high school graduation support, and college and career readiness, just to name a few, and we do among a lot of different areas. Our work is rooted in building relationships and trust, creating support systems, and helping students and families navigate challenges both inside and outside of school. In addition to our program services, we have provided supports to students and families experiencing crises and instability. When one of the first known ICE detentions involving a PPS parent happened, we were one of the first organizations called to support. We worked with teachers and school leaders to help them understand what to expect, how to support the impacted family, and how to care for the students and families during an incredibly difficult moment. Since then, schools across the districts have continued to reach out to us for support, including schools where our programs are not currently funded through the district. Right now, many students and families, regardless of status, are living in increased fear and uncertainty. During moments like these, trusted community-based organizations like ours become more important. Become more important than ever before. And the reality is that the needs has grown. Schools are asking for more support, families are relying on these services more than ever, and organizations like ours are being asked to do more with less. At the same time, I want to be honest that although you have been able to support our programs through the RSJ initiative, maintaining current funding levels do not close the gap created by significant reductions that we are experiencing from previous budget cycles. Because of those early cuts, many of us are still having to make difficult decisions and are anticipating reductions to services in the upcoming fiscal year. I also want to make sure that people understand that although we are not seeing the same level of public attention or visible incidents, this is still happening to our community. This is a tactic to lull us into a sense of security, and it's used as a means to undermine the support systems that we have created. Thank you so much, and please give Access their buses as well.
Thank you.
Amy Alvarado, Miranda Morales, Maria Jose Zavala. Philip Berlin, Chris Walters, and Diana Marcela Cuartas.
All right, good evening, board members, chair, superintendent. My name is Phil Berlin. I serve as a housing coordinator with Self-Enhancement, and today I'm here to speak in support of restoring and continuing funding for the Racial Equity and Social Justice Funds, RESJ. These funds are not just supplemental, they are essential. RESJ investments play a critical role in supporting students and families who have been historically underserved. Now, we know that the outcomes of students are not determined solely by the classroom. They are shaped by access to culturally responsive supports, stable housing, trusted relationships, and systems that recognize and respond to lived experience. RESJ funding helps make those supports happen. Those resources strengthen partnerships with culturally specific organizations, expand access to services, and ensure that schools are equipped to meet students where they are. They are a direct investment in equity. Continuing RESJ funding is critical. Without it, we are losing the progress that has been made and widening the disparities that we've been working to close. These are investments that help create stability, build trust, and ultimately improve long-term outcomes for students and families. I urge you to restore and continue funding for RESJ programs so that all students have access to the resources and opportunities they need to thrive. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Diana Marcela Cuartas. I'm a family engagement specialist with Latino Network. I've been in this role for about 6 years. And I just wanted to share, as many people have said before, in Latino Network, we support immigrant families. And as Sarah mentioned, being an immigrant is a very tough situation, especially in the days that we're living now. And we believe that education is not just relying on the school or in the student. It's a whole thing that the whole family should be involved. And through Colegio de Padres, we've been able to support families to navigate the school system, but also to access resources, to get strategies to communicate better with the students, to understand how to adapt, but also be proud of ourselves in this country and starting new lives. And also just wanted to share, like, we are not just like an extra service the students get at the school. We are like vital because we are working in tandem with school staff, with the students, with the counselors, with the teachers. So the service we provide is not just something that is nice to hang out after school. It's something that is actually contributing to the social fabric of this city, because as Sarah mentioned, she wants to go to college, and we are able to support that dream. And I've been in this role for 6 years, and I've been with hundreds of families that never thought they could be able to go to college, to be able to achieve the things that they have done over the years. And I want to keep supporting that. I feel deep love supporting families, and I feel proud for them for all they have achieved since the pandemic and so everything we have gone through together as a community. So I think it's urgent to also keep these kind of programs at the schools present, because it's not a luxury, it's not something that is extra, it's a basic need. And if we want to school thriving overall, all these programs that are funded through RSAJ, racial, but I'm bad with the acronyms. But these programs are part of the fabric of the school. And the school knows we need each other to support the students to do their best, and the family to do their best, and keep thriving and keeping Portland nice and successful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Amy Alvarado Martinez. I currently work for Latino Network. I'm a youth engagement specialist at McDaniel High School. I run the Early Escalera program there for 9th and 10th graders. Those students that are in the first row standing up are my students. Sara and Sebastian are my students, and I am so proud of them. I was not expecting to speak, but I came up here because I think someone on my team submitted my name. So I'm up here to show them that I can also do this, and I'm proud to be their mentor. I'm proud to be their advocate. Sebastian's testimony almost made me cry because as a high school student, I also attended McDaniel back when it was Madison. I was also part of Escalera, a Latino Network program. I was part of Juntos Aprendemos, also a Latino Network program for children and parents that have kindergarten age children. And just being able to see the impact that these programs have had on me and my peers. I knew coming out of college that I wanted to give back to my community, and it was something that I learned from being part of those programs being in high school, and I see the impacts that it has now. So I'm here to support all of my ResJ community partners and all of Latino Network. Please continue to fund our programs. And to continue that expansion. There are also people's positions in line. We've just had 3 cuts from our programs. due to like not having enough funds to continue supporting the increasing costs. And it's hard because these people have to go and find new jobs, potentially go on unemployment. And it's very difficult. We have families, and we just want to support the community and continue supporting the children, the future. Yeah, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
My name is Chris Walters, W-A-L-T-E-R-S. Y'all get me 2 nights in a row. I am the nutrition services lead at McDaniel High School, the food guy for some of those folks back there, and the SEIU co-chair. I wanted to speak to the 1% COLA budgeted for the unions and echo Angela Bonilla's concerns that she brought up in her comments last night in front of the board meeting. I will refer you back to that because she was more eloquent than I would be. But since I'm here and I work at McDaniel, the most diverse high school in the district, I like to support the kids that we've got back there. They're amazing kids, and I love all the McDaniel students and the diversity we have at that school, and you definitely need to support those kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Noah Johnson Green.
Hello, my name is Noah Johnson Green. That is JOHNSON-GREEN, and I am a junior at Benson Polytechnic High School, and I'm also the co-president of the Benson Auditorium Technical Staff, which is the club that runs and maintains the very auditorium that we're sitting in currently. And I'm here just to basically put in a word to speak about the importance of our program here and our kind of technical theater program and how that has impacted me and how much is necessary to keep that alive. Because currently, Benson has no arts programs, no music or performance, anything as an actual class curricularly. However, we do have our after-school program, which, as Alfred mentioned, is the Benson Auditorium Technical Staff. That has been kind of the single source of many of these kind of outlets for creativity for a lot of students, and has been something so critical to so much of the community that is kind of hanging on by a thread a little bit, because we have a single staffer who is paid after school from basically part of the school's budget to come in and be able to spend their time 1 day a week just coaching us. And this is a program that has been here since 1930. It was founded when the auditorium was founded and was one of the largest programs at the school for a long period of time, but unfortunately had to shut down in the mid, I believe, 2000s, 2010s. And it is something that was restarted in 2020 or after the lockdown by one of the teachers here, and has been growing for 5 consecutive years. And that has been a series of kind of learnings and a lot of organization, where a lot of students have come to find the skills to organize things like our annual talent show, annual events, to learn to communicate with administration and learning about technical systems, upgrading all the systems in the auditorium. We've upkept all of this, like all these lights here were hung and focused by our hardworking students, and all of that is knowledge that would be lost if our program were to kind of face cuts or to lose that funding for an advisor for our program, and would force us to restart from square one. And as a school with soon to be like over 1,200 students, from what I understand, it is pretty crucial that we have some sort of kind of outlet for the arts and for specifically auditorium technical staff, also just for supporting school events, because our club supports most school assemblies as well as many other clubs' events, and it is just something that is very crucial to maintain at our school and has helped me to get career opportunities, internships, and everything. It's something that means a lot to me, and I just like to heavily encourage the board and anyone involved to make sure that the funding is maintained for our program to continue and hopefully grow into the future, to continue providing these crucial services for students and the auditorium that we're in right now. So thank you.
Thank you.
I've gone through the list of people who signed up for public comment. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Could we, was there people who signed up that were called that hadn't show up or didn't come up to speak yet?
Yes, do you want to call their names again?
Just in case, yeah.
Yep. Ellie Buckner, Nadia Knight, Lily LaRose, Lolita Jack, Sarah Escobar. Oh, I think she spoke, actually. Nelly Galindo, Byung Yu, Maya Page, Seth Miller, LQ Yang, Liming Wang, Jennifer Monkey, Melissa McCoy, Miranda Morales,
All right. Good evening. I did not sign up. My name is Marlene Lopez Patton, Lopez, space Patton. I'm a senior program manager with Latino Network and supervise staff who work directly in PPS schools providing support to youth and families in the Conexiones, Early Escalera, Sol, and Colegio de Padres programs, a program funded by Racial Equity and Social Justice Initiative. I started working at Latino Network 7 years ago, first as a youth engagement specialist and now as a supervisor, and I have seen how impactful and beneficial these programs are for Latino youth and their families. As a first-generation Latina, I didn't have access to these programs. When I began working in Escalera, I drew on my personal experiences navigating the education system to teach my students. These programs are important because they create a safe space where students can seek guidance and have adults who look like them and understand their challenges. Working at an organization such as Latino Network allows us to be relatable to students and meet them where they're at. We know the types of challenges they face and can anticipate them. The students and staff see themselves in each other and can recognize that they can also achieve their goals. Being that trusted adult means a lot. We see students coming to school, checking in with their mentors, and having their mentors, seeing their mentors as caring, welcoming, and safe. Why take that away from them? The reason these programs are so important is that they provide wraparound support, and there's an unspoken acknowledgement of barriers that Latino students and families face when it comes to the U.S. education. Lastly, in 2025, 93% of our participants graduated from high school, and this is a true testament to the work that our mentors provide and the work that's being done to accomplish this goal. We strongly urge you to reject the recommendation to cut the racial equity and social justice partnerships and continue to fund them. More importantly, they are proven models of success that consistently demonstrate measurable improvements in student engagement, parent engagement, school attendance, graduation rates, and meaningful family partnerships. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And again, I just want to repeat, since we have a lot of people who signed up that didn't show or is not present, we have time for those who are here and would like to provide public comment if you haven't already. So if you would like, you are welcome to just walk up to the mic and go for it. Thank you.
We are
I hate speaking in public. I really thought I was not going to be the only Buckman person here. Thanks, school board. Thanks, everyone, for your amazing comments. Thanks for being out here supporting public education. My name is Anova Edian. I'm a neighborhood family at Buckman Elementary School, which is a K-5 school. It's the only arts school in the entire district. It's also a Title I school and an SES integration school, so we do a lot at Buckman. I know that decisions to consolidate and close schools are hard. Everybody's going to get affected. It's a really difficult decision, and we know that there's no right answer when we're talking about this. My understanding is that the focus schools, the reason that this model took hold was in order that we would have a really robust and rich set of options for public education in Portland. And that's a thing that I've been proud of, and proud to talk to friends and family members across the whole country that PPS really invests in these amazing models where we have language immersion, we have arts focus, environmental focus, all these incredible things. And being here tonight and hearing about the importance of access and knowing friends who go to Japanese immersion, this is an incredible thing. And I'm also hearing a lot at the PPS community engagement sessions, in the press, at community meetings that I go to. There seems to be this narrative that focus options serve privileged folks. And I think that that is a really reductive story at best, and I think it's just really deeply incomplete. I really want to bring attention back to some of the things that Access folks were saying. Lots of families have lots of different needs. Families have different priorities. Some families, it's critical that they want to go to a Spanish immersion school. Some folks just really need science and math, or have like a really advanced kid in engineering, or whatever it may be. The narrative that focus schools and immersion options cannibalize or detract from neighborhood schools is false. Buckman is a neighborhood school. We're a neighborhood family. If Buckman gets consolidated or closed, which is what I hear people calling for, consolidate or close the focus schools and focus on the neighborhood schools, no one wins in the long run. I think it would so much better serve all the families of Portland if we just deeply, deeply invest in the things that we know are working. And if we give every neighborhood school, whatever those may be and whatever those choices are about who gets closed, make sure that every school has a really incredible focus option or immersion option or something. And then even if a Richmond neighborhood family chooses to go to Winter Haven, somebody else is going to want to choose to go to Richmond because of their programs. And if we can do that instead of starting to think about like, we're adversarial, like we don't need to be adversaries in this process. And I really appreciate at all the community engagement sessions the way that I've seen members of the school board and members of the community show up and really start thinking about like, how can we find solutions? Somebody at Kellogg said, like, we know what good education looks like, or maybe it was a different session, I've been to a couple of them. We know what it looks like. We can do this, and part of that is not cutting each other down. It's really looking at what's working. It's making sure that the families that need Access Academy have Access Academy. That families across the district who want their kids to have an arts-focused education have the choice of Buckman. And families in the Buckman zone may choose to lottery for somewhere else. I didn't come really well prepared, obviously. I'm just kind of like reading off of notes that I scribbled down from other people. But I want PPS to be a public school system that everybody wants to choose to invest in. I believe that all the kids are our kids. Even before I had a child, I was a public education supporter. I love public education. It is a cornerstone of democracy. We have got to keep it going. And the way that we keep it going is by making public schools something that all the families want to choose, so that wealthy people who could go to private do choose to go to public education, because that's how we serve the kids who can't afford a different option. That's how we do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marjorie Bernal. My English is difficult. My language is Spanish. Interpret for me. Considero que todos los programas que hacemos por nuestros niños y los jóvenes pueden ayudarnos a crecer como seres humanos, a crear una sociedad llena de oportunidades. Cuando ayudamos a un niño, a un joven con estos programas, podemos hacer de una sociedad mucho mayor en éxitos. Cuando cohibimos a nuestros jóvenes y a nuestros estudiantes, en este caso, a cosas deficientes, podemos ver la decadencia de una comunidad. Considero que todos estos programas son un beneficio para todos. Soy de Latino Network. Este programa me ha brindado bastantes oportunidades. con mi lenguaje en inglés, que no es muy bueno, pero logro entenderlo. Llevo 3 años en este país, en Oregon, que siento que es una comunidad muy buena, llena de oportunidades. Sorry.
That was a lot. So, hi. Well, my name is Paulina. I'm helping her with interpretation. And I consider that all these programs that offer for students, are really essential for the families. We need to work on them. When we help our kids, we make sure our community grows more, and we can create a better society.
Agradezco mucho a Latino Network y a todos los que han sido parte de mi hogar. Incluyo a PCC, tengo un niño con autismo nivel 3. He tenido mucha ayuda a nivel de su lenguaje y de muchas cosas que benefician los programas de esta comunidad.
I'm grateful for Latino Network. I work with them. I'm grateful. I have a kid with autism, level 3, and I'm grateful for the support they have provided to me.
Cosas que marcan a familias, a personas como yo, que venimos de un país pequeño, de dificultades como la guerrilla, como muchas cosas que afectan a una sociedad.
And I'm grateful to be here. We came from a small country where we have a lot of different things happening, like the guerrilla, and I'm grateful for the support.
Pero vemos que son programas que ayudan a nuestros jóvenes a crecer, a ser mejores, no solamente profesionalmente, sino como personas.
These programs support our kids to be better, not just professionally, but also as a person.
Cuando ayudamos a nuestros niños a crecer, vamos a ver el futuro más adelante. Este país va a crecer si nuestros jóvenes tienen mayores posibilidades.
When we support our kids to grow, we will see a better future where there are more opportunities in this country.
Tengo a mi hija en Latino Network desde que entró y veo su crecimiento personal, veo su crecimiento en conocimientos, en muchas cosas que se abren puertas para ella.
I have my daughter in Latino Network for a long time, and I have seen the growth and all the opportunities that have been opened for her with this program.
Y sé que todos aquí que tenemos hijos queremos lo mejor para ellos. Y no solamente para ellos, sino para nuestra comunidad.
And I know everybody who has kids here wants the best for them, and not just for them, for the entire community.
Porque ponemos como ejemplo cuando están los doctores y te atienden, lo hacen de la mejor manera. Son muchos que han venido de otros países o muchos que han tenido la posibilidad de estar en programas como estos.
For example, when you go to a doctor, you see a lot of doctors are really good connecting with people, and because they're coming from different countries and they have been in these programs.
Muchos que como yo, que tienen un hijo autista y no tenían conocimiento, son de PPC, son de varios programas que realmente ayudan a la comunidad.
So a lot of people who, like me, who has been from different countries and have different experiences, like me, have been in programs like PPC. What is PPC? Yeah, well, I was asking what is PPC, but I don't know if you know.
PPS.
Oh, sorry, she was talking about PPS.
My English is difficult. Muchas gracias por el tiempo y espero que sigan estos programas para todos.
Thank you so much for the time, and I hope these programs continue for everybody.
Thank you. Any other takers? I'll give you 10 seconds to work up your courage.
Is there anyone who signed up virtually who?
Do we have anyone virtual standing by?
No, but I'm wondering if there's anybody who signed up virtually who came to the meeting that I didn't call.
All right. Well, again, I want to thank everyone who showed up tonight to give your public comment. Your thoughts and reflections are important to us. It helps improve our work. And again, thank you very much for taking your time out today to care about public education and share your experiences. All right, with that, board members, now that we have heard public testimony on the proposed budget and have opportunity to more deeply review the budget material, we have reserved time tonight as well for us to ask any clarifying questions of the superintendent. You also remember we can always email in questions as well if still working on thoughts, etc., or engage in discussion with each other. Sorry, not over email, but here in person. So with that.
Can I ask a question? This is news to me that we get to do this, and I didn't bring my budget book. So could we just take like a few minutes to regroup, or do other people have questions to get us started? Or it sounds like at least a couple of us didn't know.
Yeah, how about this? Let's take a 5-minute break. Let's do that and then give time to regroup. And if there's anything clarifying, we can talk about. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, folks, that I didn't know. But yeah.
Five-minute break.
It could be that those.
All right, so as a board, just kind of review, when we have budget hearings, this is the opportunity for the public to provide their input on the budget to the board. Our main job here is to listen and reflect. At the end, we do allot some time, typically about 15, 20 minutes, for the board to ask any clarifying questions, usually gathered from what we heard during public comment or other questions as well. We do have the option to also email our questions, and I believe and staff will do their best to answer the questions in a timely manner. And so, yes, and that's basically the purpose. That's how we typically run budget hearings. Because I know some people, this is your first one. Congrats. All right. Can we start over with Director Chase Miller, and then we'll work down this way?
I just got here. I don't have any clarifying questions yet.
Okay, we'll come back and check.
Another round. Thank you.
Director Sullivan.
On the RSJ, how much is that cut, and what will it mean to the different programs as far as how much you can be in the schools? I think there's a few people still out there.
Yeah, I can answer the question. So with all of our different accounts across the system, we had to look at reductions. And so we have reduced our overall budget for ResJ contracts to 1.2 million is the reduction. And we held harmless NEA and Latino Network. So that basically means that whatever they received this year, they'll receive next year. And for SEI, they are receiving 1.1 million, which is down from 1.48. So it's about a $380,000 difference. And then there's a whole strategy and more information that we can share as we get into the details of the budget, but that is what it's looking like now. So the total ResJ budget is now 5.7 million for next academic year.
Okay, thank you, and I can get more information later. And I have another question. I know I've been getting people coming to me not happy with how their principals are using their money. Is that anything the board has anything to do with, or do we just leave that alone?
Principals have control over their discretionary accounts and the ways in which they use the funds to, spend on things that are relevant to their school environment. So other than the amounts that we list in the budget books, there aren't any directives from the board on how to spend. Of course, they have to adhere to the policies and guidelines that we have established. But because all of the schools are so unique in their needs and the things that they spend on, it'll look different across all 81 sites.
And of course, this is probably obvious, but I want everybody to know that if we give money back to one thing, then we got to take it away from another thing. So
Absolutely.
This is just so very, very difficult.
Yes, thank you.
Director LaForte?
Yeah, I actually, Michelle, I just emailed this question to you while we were. For access transportation, the actual savings to the district, there was an Oregonian article about it, and said once we're reimbursed for transportation by the state, that the actual cost to the district is $450,000 a year. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is. I can answer that.
Okay.
That is accurate. I think one of the things that isn't talked about is that the reimbursement from that, for those funds from the state, comes 1 year later. So it's not like those funds we receive immediately. We receive them in the 27-28 school year. So the funds that we receive for transportation this year was from the previous academic year.
Oh, I actually follow up to the reimbursement grant question. Is that grant also, does that grant, if we continue this path, does that grant disappear, or is it able to apply to other transportation needs?
No, we can reimburse for any route, the transportation, I believe it is a 70% reimbursed. So, whether our portion, that 30%, is higher than what we budgeted, that's probably a different question. But if we transport it to all of our sites and all of our programs, we would be reimbursed for that. The 30% portion that we pay would be higher. The other thing that we're not reimbursed for is for the maintenance and replacement of our buses. And I think there's been a lot of talk about some of the contracts that we have and that number being so significant. And I just want to remind the board that while we have one fleet that is Portland owned, and that is primarily for our students with IEPs for special education transportation, we have 2 vendors that provide transportation. This went into place several years ago. I don't have all the exact facts, but I know for transportation, I know that we're spending no less than $50 million through contracted services for transportation. And so I think it's just important to capture that as we look at some of these huge numbers, what is behind some of those.
Thank you. That's actually really helpful.
And we do maintain our fleet. Yeah, we have mechanics and all of the individuals that make sure that our buses are rolling every day.
Right. So a lot of hidden costs. Well, not hidden, but supplemental. The other question I have is, last year we had a matrix of the RESJ contracts, and it was cool, like spreadsheet, right? We had what they were, what they served, and then the cost reduction. Is that something that is able to be produced again?
Yes, we will have that to you all.
Great, thank you. That's all for me.
I heard from some Benson students, I'm a former Benson mama, that you were curious about the CTE. You might have answered this in your question about in your response about programming, but how are CTE cuts showing up for next year, if there are indeed cuts to CTE?
Yeah, so we're not directly. I think it's all driven by enrollment. So fewer kiddos in classrooms in programs mean that we have fewer of those programs, or potentially none of those programs if we don't have enough students to enroll. I will say, though, that Benson is one of our high schools that didn't have a decrease because of the growth, and so I can't imagine that they had a program reduced unless the enrollment in those courses was too low to sustain. So without knowing the details of their master schedule, I can't speak to that directly, but I can certainly find out more information.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. I'm also just so proud of the fact that the school brought the newspaper back after so many years. It's just incredibly cool.
Thank you. I have one question that may actually be a deeper dive. You may not be able to answer it now, but somebody in the crowd was talking about unintended consequences of the busing and cutting the busing, and how kids may go back into neighborhood schools. And if those kids who are going into neighborhood schools, I'm just curious what the unintended consequences costs could be of potentially paraeducators, one-on-one educators, education assistants, like how those costs are gonna maybe ramp up in the neighborhood schools, because kids who are coming back there are gonna need specialized services that they're potentially getting, either not needing it access entirely or getting it access as within one brick and mortar. I don't know if you can answer that now, but
Well, no, it's a fair question. I think we would have to know what kiddos are going where if they're no longer at access to respond. But I will say it's an absolutely appropriate question, because we can't just assume if a student is not able to access tag programming at Access that they just go to whatever school without any supports. That we would need to do whatever it takes to make sure that that student was accessing the level of instruction that was appropriate to them. I mean, we are not only required to do that, it's the right thing to do. The other thing I'll say is for our students who attend Access that have IEPs, that have transportation written into their IEPs, will be able to access a bus to Access should the proposed budget, should there be no changes. Students with IEPs, though, with transportation written into their IEP, will still be able to ride the bus.
Thank you. And I think written into that idea of unintended consequences or costs is, as I heard from an Access parent today whose current fifth grader would maybe go to the neighborhood middle school, but would then need to take ninth grade. I can't remember what class she said. And so she was sort of working through her brain as a single working parent. She can't get her kid from middle school to high school, and so someone from the district presumably would have to then escort her child once or 3 times a day. I don't know. So she was just kind of walking through this cost of getting her sixth grader from a middle school to a high school and then back, and those costs. So that's kind of what I'm
No, I appreciate the question. I think it's abundantly clear, and I don't, it's clearer, because I think it's always been clear that there's more that we can do to serve our students that are twice exceptional, and we need to continue to work at that and plan around it. In terms of like individual programming, I think we have a tag department that could potentially respond to some of those unique program efforts without knowing the individual student and what they need. I don't know if I can answer. And I also know that there's some questions out there about routes and shuttles and things like that, and we're absolutely looking into that as we make our way through the conversation over the next few weeks about this budget, because we want to be as responsive as we can to make sure that we're getting our kiddos to where they need to be and what they need to the best of our ability in our budget.
Thanks. I have a few questions that are for the future and maybe a couple for tonight. One is that I just emailed you today too about this, and then what you just said kind of already aligns with this, but one thing that I've thought was really great is that the Access parents haven't been like, we need the buses to come exactly the way they are now. They seem to be open to the idea of having like fewer stops or somehow kind of like make the system more efficient, if you will, for district finances, maybe a little less efficient for families, but that there's like a middle ground possibility. And I really hope that we'll pursue that. And I've also made this suggestion that it sounds like we have buses for our DLI schools, and like perhaps there's some sort of like way that we can make up whatever savings are lost from that compromise by giving the same sort of more efficient structure for the DLI schools or something like that.
For native speakers, the transportation's for native speakers,
Oh,
but
it's only
yes.
for native speakers?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's a great point, though.
I didn't know that that was the case. I might feel differently about that then, but I was just trying to think of where we could like make up the costs in the transportation side, just trying to be creative.
I love it.
But I do hear that there is this like room for maybe some sort of middle ground coming from the families, and it'd be cool if we could consider that.
I just wanted to acknowledge that, and we've been receiving and reading the emails and thinking of different strategies and ways, and so I appreciate that, and we are actively in conversation.
Great, I love that. I know some families met with staff yesterday and did not get that sense, so I think it'd be great to hear that on the record. It's not for this year's budget, I guess, but I am super curious for more information on the SEIU situation we heard about yesterday with the second furlough day. I looked back at the MOUs, and it really does look like it says one furlough day, so I look forward to getting an update on that whenever we're ready, or you all are ready. I also, on the CBRC recommendations, there were concerns about some of our, the estimates in the budget being overly optimistic, depending on your perspective, but I think that was the words they used. And I just think it'd be interesting to hear more about that. And I haven't looked at the Q&A doc, which might already get into it, but it just seems to me like that like raised concerns for me given the dynamics we had mid-year. I also somebody at a public meeting asked me about that discrepancy in the number of that like per student cost in volume 2, and then when you compare it back to volume 1, it doesn't really, the math doesn't math. It's like $11,000 per kid at the schools on average was mentioned last night, but then once you run the math through volume 1, our actual spending is $26,000 per kid. So it looks like we're putting way more, $15,000 per kid into things that aren't in the schools. And so I'm happy to work to unpack that, but that was also in the CBRC report. And I got asked at a public meeting and totally like told the guy that it was benefits and I was wrong. So anyway, so now I need to be redeemed. So that's a question for the future. I also, on the ResJ spreadsheet, I'm just reminded of the SMART goals. So I'm just throwing that out there. And then I also think that there was a request about breaking out contracts. And it sounds like most of those contracts are construction. There was some press today that I caught that I can't remember now, it was like 70% or something is construction related. But I still think it'd be cool to, again, look at that CBRC request and provide us some clarity on what those contracts are going toward. So I'm hearing 50 million for buses, that's a lot. And then I'm hearing the construction piece, of course, is quite high given the huge projects we have going.
I just wanted to emphasize, I was just going to say that, just a reminder, we have 3 high schools that are breaking ground this year, and we also have our seismic goals where we'll have, at some point in the next 18 months, like 5 schools potentially actively under construction, and that is not, our builders are all contract, all of the pieces that come together. So I think we're going to continue to see that number rise, and we have received definitely feedback in being able to show and tease out where those contracts are, kind of related to those bond or facility or infrastructure versus where there's contract spending for, let's say, trainers or other folks who come inside of our schools and our buildings to assist with those things. So we'll be breaking that down as well.
Great, I love that. I think those were the questions that I also think it was kind of interesting that as far as budget goes, we heard the public comment we heard tonight and really not a whole lot else. And so I think it's great that we had answers for the questions we had tonight, but if there's any that I missed or we got any in other avenues, I just want to make sure that this is exciting. It's like, Christy, stop talking.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be cool to surface any other feedback that came in on budget, but I feel like other than people being concerned about blending early on, and that was brought up again last night, but I just feel like we had kind of like a limited set of input compared to last time, and so it might be pretty easy to kind of like go through what we heard and say, here's how we addressed it, or we couldn't.
Yeah, and this is probably a perfect time. I'm sure that my chief of comms would love for me to remind community, remind board that we have a website that is dedicated to getting those frequently asked questions up and answered. And so there's always more information that can be found on our website as we go. But yes, we want to continue to close those feedback loops.
All right. I don't have any questions because you guys have already asked all of them. I will say that I really appreciated the way the Access people engaged in the conversation. Over the past week, I've been in a lot of situations like this where parents come and say, if you don't do this thing, we're taking our kids to private school. And I haven't really heard that in this conversation, so I appreciate that, and I empathize, with the lack of options a lot of people in this situation are confronted with right now. Also, if you do end up producing more information on the Benson situation, I have their emails, so so send that my way, and I can make sure that the student representative is in on that email, so they can get that out to their community.
Absolutely.
And that's all I have.
Okay.
Nothing for me.
I think Christy asked that. I was wondering about the hubs for access and how that would work. Sounded like that's already in discussion, so that's great.
I just wanted to acknowledge that I can understand why the idea of possibly finding savings from eliminating busing for access was put on the table. I could see how that would come up and why it might be perceived as a potential solution. And I think what we're hearing is that there is going to be a real impact on families, and it will impact their ability to access the program. So I'm just wondering, I realize as we're sitting here talking, I don't actually know, how does the transportation currently work? Is it neighborhood pickups? What is it like right now?
Yeah, so currently there's neighborhood pickup as referenced, and then of course we have those obligations to make sure that we're transporting for homeless, McKinney-Vento, and students with IEPs. We have added in non-native speakers to DLI programs to get them a maximum amount of support in their home language while learning English. So that has been something we transported to. Over time, where we've transported has changed, even though there's, as I've mentioned before, there's the reimbursement from the state. We've still had to decrease our routes. I think one thing to note is the fact that we have Portland Public School transportation, and then we have two other entities. When I know oftentimes we look at comparables and see where we're alike and where we're different, it is uncommon to have two other transportation companies transporting, and that's a cost, and it's a higher cost, right? I know that the team would love for us to be able to have more routes ran through Portland Public Schools, and we know that that's also a cost. And so I've been talking to the team, I think, since I've arrived, to explore, review, and share out opportunities where we can create a cost savings, not necessarily all in the reduction of routes, but we have to have a response to get a handle on how much transportation is costing us. It's out of, it's a higher amount when compared to our peers of similar sizes.
Unsleep my computer. So the comparison to Director Slitt's question, I asked the same question to John Franco this week about how the DLI buses work. And what happens is the students who are non-native speakers essentially hitch a ride. So if you're in the JDLI program, if you're going, you can get on the bus if you're a non-native speaker, and it's a non-issue for you, which is why I think, we keep trying to compare apples to apples, and it's just not possible. It's apples to oranges. And, but the issue is that access is needs-based. And I feel like for me, I think it's definitely a conversation worth having, and we talked about this today. But it feels for me like it's a year early that it should be part of the right-sizing conversation, since there is a significant wait list. There is a potential for relocating, co-locating, things that have been done in the past for the program. So I'm open to that conversation. I'm hoping we can delay cuts to transportation for the program this year and make them part of that conversation. Because I could really, I definitely have some lived experience as the parent of a student like this, and I really related to the parent who said that it's taking a student from a program like Access and moving them back into a neighborhood school will not work. That horse has already left the barn, and we don't have the infrastructure to meet the needs of those students in our neighborhood schools. I would love to say we do, we just don't right now. And that, I think you said, inflicting misery on these students and families, and that is true for a lot of these families. It is very difficult. So I just want to say I could really relate to that. For high schools, I noticed in one of the documents we had, I think it was one of the budget documents, it actually broke down the budget impact for our K-8 programs versus our high school programs. And about half of the budget impact was being absorbed by high schools. It was like 50-50. And I was wondering, for college and career counselors, how is that working? Is that decision being made at the high school level? Are principals or building administrators making that decision for their schools? Or is that something we're allocating? This is a surprise question. I'm sorry. I was just thinking about it. I was like, I should ask that.
No, it's okay.
It's okay if you don't know off the top of your head.
Just restate that question. I'm sorry.
So for our high schools, I remember last year, we were going to cut, this is before I was on the board, going to cut funding for college counselors at the high schools.
Okay.
And I was wondering if that's happening this year. Or is that a decision
no,
that the individual building administrators are making?
So that's not a specific cut. I know that there are some discretionary spending that we had conversations about earlier this year, that allocation to schools, and where principals are able to choose between a couple of categories for their discretionary spending, and that was really based on the needs of their school.
Great.
Yeah.
And then this may be okay, but two more. I promise I'll be done. This is, it's just like, heard it through the grapevine. Canvas, I heard from, I literally can't remember who it was, that we might be changing our, and this was before the whole Instructure disaster of the last couple of weeks, that we might be changing our Canvas agreement and that students might not be using Canvas next year. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's a,
I know,
that's a great question. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
We have a lot of updates and things. I mean, I would say that if there was a change in software, it's something that we process with our end users. And as contracts come up for renewal, part of our stewardship with the budget is to review those costs and see if there are alternative ways of meeting those needs or something that's either free or lower costs. And so the only thing I can imagine is that if there is a software program that we're using and it's up for renewal, we will be.
I may have,
Yeah.
maybe I
So-
should have asked that like offline, I'm sorry.
Right. No, it's a fair question.
And this is a big ask, but, and it's not possible, I understand, but is it possible to have a version of the budget books that's basically exactly what we have, that is just the general fund?
Yeah, let me pivot that to Michelle. I thought I was going to get through all of these, answering all these questions on my own, but I'm going to phone a friend because we are dealing with some archaic systems, and so I want to call on.
I see the ERP stuff and get excited for you guys.
We are. So we received a lot of feedback from the Community Budget Review Committee in terms of how they would like to see things categorized, which are different than what we use with our Oregon Department mandated chart of accounts. And so when I think the short answer is we've been meeting, so I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on that. However, the general fund is already contained in that. It's a section. So the way the budget document flows is it's all funds, and then it goes into financials where it's broken into general fund, special revenue funds. So it is, if there's a higher level of detail that we are interested in showing for general fund, we can definitely provide a supplement or a separate report. So I think that's worth talking more about.
Thank you, and thanks for the information that you sent over today.
Yeah.
This is not necessarily a budget question, it's just kind of a follow-up. And this probably doesn't, I'm not actually expecting this to be answered today, and maybe something for later, but I was going to ask about Indian education, and also the Indian Parent Committee. I know a couple of years ago there was commitment to engage, but I also know in between there was a lot of staffing cuts and just the capacity has been just stretched thin. And I was just, at some point, would love to have an update about what the engagements have been, or what status and things like that.
Yes, I'd love to answer that now, and I appreciate you asking that question. So the commitments that I made last year in the budget season about the curriculum, about the 1.0, and then about additional funds for tutoring as needed outside of what is federally allocated to Portland remains true for this upcoming year. That hasn't changed. And we did hire a 1.0 Native, it's a long title, I know, Nicole, community engagement person, and that process was led and deeply connected to Native community as they were involved in the interview process along with Senior Director Nicole Watson. I mean, as a matter of fact, I think there were a couple of rounds just based on what the elders preferred in a candidate to represent that work. And so I think I'd have to know a little bit more about some of the questions coming up about something that's changed from what we said we would do, but so far we're doing exactly what we said we would do.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm glad that was answered today. And then my other question is, it's actually interesting, it was about Buckman, since it's an arts focus option school, but I know that because of the way budgeting works and things like that, we've heard from parents that the art program is in danger. So is there I don't, again, this may be a question about, what's legal and what's not, and legal requirements and things like that, but is there a way, if it's an arts focus school, that there's a non-budget way to maneuver or exceptions to allow the art programs to continue? Or is that something that is we're just constrained by our requirements?
I wouldn't say requirements. I think we're constrained by our budget. I think it is a great question, and I think it's one that we have sat with as a team, and it will be prominent in our right sizing conversation. Not that those programs are at risk or anything, but to say that, if we have these programs that have certain environment focus, like environment or arts or dance or math and science, what resource do we allocate to sustain that program over time? Because it's like as if you take a neighborhood school, a focus option, all the variety of different schools that we offer, and all are wonderful, and we love all of them. And you said, okay, you don't do it like you get a special designation to run this program with this focus. It's like the FTE based on enrollment, and then it's up to those then school administrators to then make that special program work based on the FTE that they're allocated. Does that make sense? I know I used a lot of words
No,
on
that's
that one.
helpful because I think that is a serious question we should ask about.
Right, so if we're gonna say, hey, we have like 7 art-focused schools across Portland, then what are we doing as a school system to make sure that those art programs can thrive? And and the team have been studying this, and we're not seeing and maybe in the past when there was an abundance of resources, we haven't been able to find something that directly connects to how those programs would sustain over time and into the future. So now it's something that we need to discuss about right sizing. And I just want to emphasize this because oftentimes when we say, hey, we need to look at focus options and the budget and the right sizing, I think sometimes people automatically go to, oh, that means my school may be closed down. It actually is, oh, great, maybe there's an opportunity to make sure that we're getting the resources that we need for the kiddos that we serve. And that's the way that I frame the conversation. I know there's multiple frames out there, but me and the team, when we're in conversation, that's the talk that we'll have. Now, I'm not saying that we're not going to have conversations on some of these about some of these programs that will be uncomfortable, closure, consolidation, program moves, but just to know that the way in which we're entering the conversation.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
I was going to say something generally about the ability to be resilient to change. And just curious if we have right now 81 schools, and I'm wondering if we had like 50 amazing schools in this community, what the community would say about that. If it meant that they had to drive, move their patterns a little bit, maybe be in a different building, what would that look like? Just that kind of visioning process about excellent schools for Portland. I think it's possible, and I think that's also going to require a lot of change. And so I just hope that we are able to model what change looks like, especially for kids who are going to be experiencing a lot of change in their lifetimes. They're going to need to be able to move and adapt. So that's my question. I don't have any questions about the budget at this time.
I forgot to ask something that you reminded me that I wanted to ask about when you mentioned the 2 vendors for the buses. And I remember in September or October, us talking at a board meeting about, I don't think we directed you, but we talked about you wanting to do a look at the buses and the vendors and the contracts and all of that. And so I guess I don't need an answer now, but I'm curious now. I realize 7 months later, I don't think I've heard anything, and I wonder if something is coming or if it was never coming back, but it was more just for you and the team. I just remembered that.
No, I appreciate that, and I know it's something that the team has been talking about. I think there's some timeline contract coming up for renewal or expiration, and so I'm wondering if we'll just make a note to get a memo and start that process, maybe get to it a little faster, or at least get you all the information on what constraints may be there now, or even some timeline.
I don't have anything further, thank you.
Yep, I don't have anything.
Great. With that, I think we are almost about done. So just one thing really quick. The next the board meeting that we are going to be voting and approving the budget will be on May 26, 2026. Couple reminders for the board. This is a time when staff gets flooded with lots of questions, so I do gently remind the board, if you can, please submit your questions as early as possible, and also have some grace with staff because they tend to be flooded with questions during this time, and it just takes time to get through questions from all 7 board members and a student rep. And so, yeah, please submit your questions as early as possible before our May 26th meeting. Right now, the board will recess itself from meeting as the budget committee. And just a reminder, the budget will be up for vote on May 26th. All right, with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for being here.